Over the past 100 years, Shillong has witnessed a sea of changes in education, administration, military, socio-economic, and cultural fronts, and its transformation can be traced to the late 1800s after it became the capital of the Non-Regulation Province of Assam. The selection of Shillong as the capital of the Chief Commissioner's province in 1874 marked the arrival of many socio-religious groups, the Brahmo Samaj being one of the significant ones. The Brahmo Samaj was a reformist movement to reform the Hindu society of social and religious evils and eradicate practices like sati and caste system which were rampant at the time. It was a monotheistic religion that propagated the belief in the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of mankind. It began during the Bengali Renaissance in the 19th century. Founded by Raja Ram Mohan Roy in 1828, it was one of the most influential religious movements in India and played an important part in the regeneration of modern India. In this episode of Shillong's iconic structures, we are featuring the Shillong Brahmo Samaj prayer hall, established 130 years ago by Brahmo emissaries, most of whom were well-placed government servants who hailed from Sylhet and neighbouring districts in Bengal. The ideals of the Samaj were brought to the northeast by Assamese elites who studied in Calcutta, now Kolkata, in the mid-19th century. Meghalaya and Assam were amongst the northeastern states that were hugely influenced by the ideals of the Samaj. Established on November 8, 1874 in Shillong, the Brahmo Samaj managed to expand its base to different parts of the Khasi and Jaintia Hills, predominantly in Sohra, then Cherrapunji, Shela, Laikansu and Sohbar in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The Brahmo emissaries involved in the formation of the Samaj in Shillong in the early years were Raj Chandra Chowdhury, his wife Hemant Kumari Chowdharani, Rai Bahadur Prakash Chandra Deb, Brajendra Nath Sen, Okhoi Kumar Chatterjee, Sadaya Chandra Das and Rai Bahadur Sivanath Datta. Looking at the acceptance of the faith in Khasi Hills, Nilmani Chakraborty was sent as a preacher from Calcutta in June 1889. To his credit goes the spread of the Brahmo religion in Sohra and its surrounding areas and the promotion of education and healthcare in the region. In Shillong, the followers of the Brahmo Samaj would meet up in Laban, Kundailad or Maukar. Unfortunately, not many of the old structures are standing except for the prayer hall, alias Shillong Brahmo Samaj in Kundailad, and only a few remnants of the once active Khasi Hills Brahmo Samaj in Laban.
In Shillong, Brahmo movement started after the British shifted their chief commissionerate from Sylhet to Shillong. A lot of people moved in with the British government in their services from Bengal and Assam. Amongst them were many Brahmo families.
Located at Kundailad, just opposite the old assembly building, this wooden structure with pitch roofing stands out from the rest of the concrete structures in the commercial hub of the city. Spread across 30,000 square feet of land, the premises of the Shillong Brahmo Samaj also accommodates an office cum library, cum guest house, a charitable dispensary, and a two-story commercial complex, all concrete in structure. As one enters the premises, one would be greeted by a life-size statue of Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore neatly installed on the right side of the driveway with dashes of green scattered across the area. Let us further dive into the history of the Shillong Brahmo Samaj. The first Samaj was established in Kualapati in 1876. Subsequently, it was shifted to Maukar in 1886, where many Khasis were also involved in the reformist movements like Radhon Singh Berry Karwanlang and Job Solomon, who helped set up a Brahmo Samaj Mandir in Maukar and translated some Brahmo prayers into Khasi. It may be mentioned that Radhon Singh Berry Karwanlang was the author of the popular Khasi book on ethics and etiquettes called Kajingsneng Temen, published by Re Khasi Press in 1901. It was said that Babu Jiban Roy Mairom, popularly known as the father of modern Khasis, also played an active role in the establishment of the Samaj in Maukar. Like Radhon Singh Berry Karwanlang, Helimon Khongpai, the then inspector of schools, was also an ardent follower of Brahmo Samaj. Between 1887 and 1880, a prayer hall was established in the present site at Kundailad on a piece of land provided by the government.
As my record goes in the Samaj, the first Samaj was established in Kualapatti. Subsequently, it was shifted to Mokhar, where many even Khasi local people who were involved in the whole movement. And then subsequently, government gave a land here in Police Bazaar when the British government at that time saw the great work that the Brahmo people were doing in Shillong and its surroundings.
In 1887, a bigger prayer hall was constructed and the building material was replaced from wood to stone in 1894. However, the stone building was destroyed in the Great Earthquake of 1897. Following this, a group of experts were brought in to ensure minimum damage to life and property in case a similar calamity strikes in the future. This was when the concept of Assam-type structures with pitch roofing and ekra walls and the wooden frame was introduced in Shillong. Reconstruction work was taken up immediately after the earthquake and work on a new prayer hall was started. However, due to the dearth of the fund, the Samaj had to resort to public donations and completion of the building was delayed. The prayer hall, which now stands prominently, was formally opened on 26th September 1935. Over the years, the number of Brahmo Samaj followers in Shillong dwindled, and with this, the sermons and services at the prayer hall had also come to a halt. The last major event held at the Shillong Brahmo Samaj was the 86th All India Brahmo Conference in October 1976, where delegates from across the country visited the Samaj. In the later years, the birth and death centenaries of Rabindranath Tagore were celebrated in the hall.
That we need to inculcate more members here, like-minded people. We tried in different ways, but it's not working. Maybe they have other ideas, we don't know, and we can't go on knocking at everybody's door.
At present, the hall is temporarily being used for sorting and cataloguing the books of the Tagore Memorial Library. Once this exercise is over, the space will be converted back into a prayer hall and the books will be shifted back to the library in the next building. Here's something interesting about the library. Known as Rabindra Smriti Granthagaar or Tagore Memorial Library, it is a proud possession of the Shillong Brahmo Samaj. In existence since 1942, the library has an inventory of over 35,000 books, several of them priceless and providing an excellent source of knowledge and reference for scholars and students. Back in the day, it was said that the Brahmo influence was also felt in the Sangh Khasi movement when 16 young Khasi leaders led by Babu Jibon Roy came together to fight the growing missionary activity in the Khasi Hills. The Brahmo followers also had a close affinity with the Unitarian Church, which was established in Jawai by Hajam Kishore Singh Nongri, a rebel Christian, in 1887. Both shared similar ideologies and believed in the unity of God and the brotherhood of man. During the peak of the Brahmo activities in Shillong, the local government declared the 11th day of the month of Magh, mid-January, as a holiday for followers of Brahmo Samaj to celebrate and partake in their annual socio-religious festival known as Maghotsav. Did you know Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore visited the Shillong Brahmo Samaj twice? The Samaj had also hosted Dr. Biran Chandra Roy, an Indian physician, freedom fighter, and the man who gave Shillong electricity through his Sonapani Hydel project, which was set up in 1922. Other prominent personalities who visited the Samaj included Leela Mazumdar, a prominent Bengali writer and aunt of legendary filmmaker Satyajit Ray, Chidananda Das Gupta, an Indian filmmaker, film critic, film historian, and one of the founders of the Calcutta Film Society, among others. Did you know that copies of the book of hymns titled Kijingroi Aingo Blay, which were translated from Bengali to Khasi and published by the Re-Khasi Press in 1935, are still preserved? Much like the book of hymns, old leaflets informing followers about different events, including old letters dating back to the 1930s, are still conserved. The Brahmo emissaries in Shillong played an instrumental role in furthering education among girls with the establishment of the Jail Road Girls' School, the Lady Keen Girls' School and College, Laban Bengali Girls' School, Ram Mohan Mahila Samiti, and a library run by women of the Khasi Brahmo Samaj in Laban. The Brahmo community of Khasi Hills, through a microscopic minority, played a catalytic role in the socio-cultural and religious regeneration of the Khasi society. Their pivotal role might be forgotten as of today, but historically, their contributions cannot be ignored. With only a few Brahmo faithful manning the Samaj in Shillong at present, the current trustees fear the iconic structure and all its priceless possessions would fall in the hands of unscrupulous businessmen, and hence feel that the government needs to declare the Shillong Brahmo Samaj as a heritage structure, keeping the rich legacy alive and enabling a greater footfall of tourists from far and wide.